What is the hardest video game you have ever played? Ghosts in Goblins. Getting over it. Battletoads on NES. This war of mine. You can't play it without getting depressed. Super Ghosts n Goblins. Big fan of games like Super Meat Boy, Celeste, Hollow Knight, Elden Ring, Dwarf Fortress, etc. But I have never played something as punishing as that game. And no, I will not try Battletoads. I need therapy first. Top Gun for NES. Never successfully landed the plane on the carrier in level 1. Fucking Pitfall. Quap. I wanna be the Boshi. Another World, 1991. Cuphead. Stunning visuals, but pretty difficult. Quap. I think that's how it's spelled. Genesis game called Comics Zone. It was actually pretty innovative for the time. Basically you play as a very 90s comic book artist with a pet rat who gets sucked into his own comic. You go panel by panel and beat up the characters using fists, weapons and the environment. You could deploy your rat to solve puzzles and uncover secrets. It was hard because though the combat was fluid, and there were plenty of ways to defeat enemies, everything did a little damage to the player. Health was hard to find and you only get one try. Like die once and that's it. I think as you move on you get more tries. But it was never enough because this game gets really tough towards the end. Super Meat Boy. If we're talking about games I was actually able to beat and 100%. The original, Echo the Dolphin. Ninja Gaiden. I remember I played this and just kept dying over and over. Lion King. XCOM. UFO Defense. Anno 1994. Kid Icarus NES version. Sekiro. Tintin au Tibet. On Game Boy. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. TMNT. NES version. Hollow Knight. It's becoming really hard to endgame, but still pretty fair. I've been really into Insurgency Sandstorm lately. I love tactical shooters in general, but this one is quite unforgiving. Which is part of the fun. But the learning curve is steep. It's basically all urban maps and map knowledge is king. You don't start doing well until you have memorized which corners, windows, and doorways are coming up around the next bend. Because that's where you're gonna get one-shotted from. Often without seeing the other player at all. Kerbal Space Program, and I wouldn't want it any other way. NES. Bayou Billy. Ikaruga. Just normal mode with 3 lives. For the old Amiga 500 heads out there. Impossible Mission. Stay a while. Stay. Forever. Haunted me as a kid. Never. Ever beat that game. The old Amiga games. They really didn't care that you couldn't beat the games. Silkworm. Altered Beast. Ghouls and Goblins. Shadow of the Beast. Cannon Fodder. Those games were so damn hard. Echo the Dolphin. Jak 2. Is it the Dark Souls of PS2 games? Elden Ring. Noita. Beat the tutorial after 120 hours. FTL. Faster Than Light. Rayman on PlayStation 1. I really liked it. But I never finished it. Because sometimes it was just too hard. I even finished a lot of Castlevania games. But not Rayman. Baba Is You. Escape from Tarkov. The remote control plane bit on GTA. Man, that was a pain in the ass. Devil May Cry 3. Contra without the Konami code. Definitely Sekiro, the ape! Exclamation mark. But shout out to the tutorial level of the original Driver. Mega Man, NES, probably my number 1. Bart vs the Space Mutants, I just gave up. Some hentai game, boy was I hard. Darkest Dungeon. The cemetery was the most visited place. Bloodborne, Shinobi, Alex the Kid, Battletoads, Touhou, Escape from Tarkov, Halo 2 Lasso, Zillion, Sega, Battletoads on the NES, Super Hexagon. There's an FVM game from the 90s called Ripper, with Christopher Walken. It's basically a Jack the Ripper mystery set in a cyberpunk kind of setting. But the puzzles are insanely difficult. I've never been able to complete the game without a walkthrough. For example, there's this puzzle where you need to find a birthday date, then consult a star map and then place crystals in order according to the positions of stars during the month from the date. And the game doesn't tell you anything. You don't know those three things are even related. Figuring out that is what you need to do is part of the puzzle. Another one is this library code you need to decode, which even after seeing the solution I thought it was impossible. I've played tons of adventure games in the 90s. This is the only one that made me look for a walkthrough. The Lion King, hardest game ever. Lion King, SNES. That RC helicopter level in GTA Vice City. Probably Sekiro. Bloodborne. I couldn't get past the first mob on normal difficulty. I haven't played any of the other hard games like Dark Souls, though, so had no experience with harder than usual games.